cold in the house. Gotta be a special day. Good afternoon. It's really good to be here with Councilman Moya and the entire team, Police Commissioner, Deputy Mayor Cass Daughtry, and our law enforcement team. And this has been something that Councilman Moya has talked about, and that's why we're here in this community, because our initiatives on Roosevelt Island Avenue. For far too long, this area has been denied, and I remember Deputy Mayor Daughtry, Assistant Commissioner at the time, we were out here late at night with the councilman walking the street. We saw a high level of illegal activity, particularly prostitution. Brothels were open up and down the avenue instead of businesses being there. The numbers were clear, and we were clear on our approach. We wanted to saturate the area with law enforcement to stabilize the condition, and then carry out repeated actions so that we can make a major impact on this area. Operation Restore Roosevelt, one of our signature community link initiatives, was to be zero focus on the quality of life in the area, including the Department of Sanitation, law enforcement, and support for those women who were on our streets. Some of them were the victims of sex trafficking and other type of coercive behavior that dealt with street-level prostitution. This was a massive cross-agency operation that went to work to sweep out crime and illegal activities. And at the heart of it, what we talked about over and over again, the participation of violent, illegal migrants in our city, and one of them was the 18th Street Gang, indicating there was a violent transnational gang members on racketeering, conspiracy, narcotics, and firearms trafficking, extortion, and assault. We zeroed in on them, and we were successful in taking them down with our federal partners, something that I talk about all the time. We're going to collaborate with our federal partners when it deals with criminal encounters. And we're using every tool possible, and the numbers speak for themselves. We have a 28% drop in crime along Roosevelt Avenue year to date. 28%. Double-digit declines in burglaries, grand larcenies, felony assaults, and robberies. And we have continuing intense enforcement against illegal activity and sex trafficking, resulting in a drop in sex crimes as well. Every New Yorker deserves to have a neighborhood that's safe, clean, not only physically but visually. The councilman would tell you how many times family members stated that they did not want their children to have to walk through the streets and see individuals participating in sex crimes right in front of them. They deserve better, and we are giving them better. This reduction is no accident. It is the result of an administration's clear and continuing focus on taking on quality of life issues and crime. And because of our upstream investment in downstream solutions, our administrations are showing that we are wrapping our sixth consecutive quarter of crime reduction. And we are breaking record lows for the number of shootings and homicides for the first half of 2025. And so I want to thank to our entire team. A community leak initiative. We have responded to over 1,600 complaints and conducted over 1,700 operations as we address quality of life issue. People want to be safe, and they want to feel safe, and we have successfully accomplished that task. I want to turn it over to the police commissioner, and then we're going to hear from our good partner, Councilman Moya.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Adams, for your leadership and for continuing to prioritize public safety and making sure we have the tools to deliver real results. I also want to thank Councilmember Moya for being here with us today. Councilmember Moya has been not only an incredible partner to us in our efforts to restore Roosevelt Avenue to what it should be, but an incredible advocate for the community as well. And I would just add that the people standing behind me in particular, led by Deputy Mayor Kaz Daughtry, starting when he was a deputy commissioner and assistant commissioner at the NYPD, he took this work on Roosevelt Avenue personally, and he was out there many times with the council member and has really put the whole effort together. So I want to thank him as well. Over the past 9 months, nowhere have the results that we have driven for New Yorkers at the NYPD been clearer than right here on Roosevelt Avenue. What had become a corridor overwhelmed by prostitution, unlicensed vendors, street gangs, and chronic quality of life complaints is now a place where residents and businesses are seeing a sea change. Through Operation Restore Roosevelt, part of our Community Link initiative, the NYPD and our city partners have led a long-term, coordinated effort to bring order and accountability back to this neighborhood. It's been a two-pronged approach, cracking down on crime and addressing the quality of life issues plaguing the neighborhood. And the numbers speak for themselves. As the mayor said, major crime this year along the Roosevelt Avenue corridor is down 28% year to date, including a 48% drop in burglary, a 29% decline in grand larceny, and a 28% decline in felony assault. Robberies are down 27%, petty larceny down 28%, and misdemeanor assaults down 33%. And the most powerful number of all, so far this year, there have been 0 shootings and no confirmed shots fired. This data is backed by action on the ground. Since the start of the operation, the NYPD has made more than 25 arrests along the corridor. We've issued more than 25,000 summonses and shut down dozens of illegal businesses operating in plain sight. And just last week, that long-term strategy, as the mayor was talking about, paid off in a major way. Federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment charging 8 members and associates of the 18th Street Gang, a violent transnational criminal group with racketeering, with drug and gun trafficking, extortion, and assaults in aid of racketeering. The NYPD worked closely with our federal partners in the New York Metro Safe Streets Task Force on this case, dismantling a network that had been driving violence and disorder in this corridor for years. But this work hasn't just been about targeting gangs or cracking down on serious crime. It's also been about restoring a sense of order, block by block, corner by corner. We've led a major push against illegal mopeds and ATVs, taking hundreds off the street. As a result, conditions are safer, streets are cleaner, and residents know that someone is finally paying attention. That's the kind of quality of life progress this community has been asking for, and now it's finally happening. Because that kind of change doesn't happen by accident, it starts with showing up. Last fall, the mayor, the NYPD, and our partner agencies came here and we listened. We heard directly from the people who live and work here. We saw the conditions firsthand and we took action, not with a one-time sweep, but with a steady presence that matched the scale of the problem. And that presence isn't going anywhere. Roosevelt Avenue is one of our designated borough special zones, one of 6, with a constant police presence and officers on foot patrols. It's part of a data-driven, scalpel approach to crime fighting, and as you can see, it works. So I want to end by thanking Mayor Adams and our partners across city government from every agency that's been part of this effort. That, of course, includes our Queens District Attorney, Melinda Katz, who has been such an important partner and whose office has played quite a critical part in this operation. Together, the whole group has helped turn frustration into progress and disorder into accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to now bring up our partner, City Councilman Moya, who really from day one was on top of this issue. We really want to thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Francisco Moya, and I proudly represent District 21, which includes parts of Roosevelt Avenue. and the incredible community that surrounds it. And I want to take this moment to really thank the mayor. When he says the mantra has been getting stuff done, this is a prime example of getting stuff done. The numbers speak for itself. When we started out, and we tell the story all the time, at 1 o'clock in the morning, the mayor, Kaz, all came out, saw what was going on, and took action. And now we're seeing those results. The drop of 28% reduction in crime overall says a lot. And that would not have been possible without the incredible work of this administration. Thank you to the commissioner for all the great work that you've been doing, but in particular to Kaz Daughtry, who has done such an amazing job, and he's been a great partner with me, walking the streets of Corona and Roosevelt Avenue at all hours of the day to see what needed to be cured to help this community feel a sense of relief, a sense that they were being heard and listened to. And I think that that really says a lot. So thank you, Kaz, for all the great work that you've done. Today, we are here because this is when you can see that government listens and it acts in true partnership with its community. And the dramatic drop in crime here is more than a number. It's proof that when we work together, residents, city leaders, law enforcement, we can create real and lasting change. Operation Restore Roosevelt is doing just that. We've cleaned up the streets. We've made them safer. We're now seeing what happens when people feel proud of where they live. Our kids feel safer, our businesses feel supported, and our neighbors finally feel seen. And like I said, that would not have been possible without the support of Mayor Adams for making sure that we have the same resources and attention that other neighborhoods in this city have. Because safety and opportunity shouldn't depend on your zip code. Roosevelt Avenue represents everything that makes Queens great, our diversity, our grit, our heart. And now we finally have a momentum to build a community where every New Yorker can not just live, but thrive. And I have to say, last week, I walked from Junction and Roosevelt all the way to 89th Street with Deputy Mayor Daughtry at, I think, 11 o'clock at night. It wasn't planned. We just went to see how it was. And I was completely shocked because we walked from Junction all the way to past 90th, and what I saw was streets that were not filled with prostitution where it was a year ago today. If you would have walked those same streets, it would have been a different look altogether. Families were out having dinner at a local restaurant, seeing people enjoy themselves and feel a sense of safety that we've never seen before in a long time along Roosevelt Avenue. That was clear. As we saw, there was also things that came up further down the road that are being addressed. But that is a real change. And I think for people who live here, I've lived here my entire life. I'm born and raised in this community. I bought the house I grew up in. I'm not moving. And to me, to see those changes happen, it's a real sense of pride to know that our city is taking care of our residents. So I thank you for that. Gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí. Quiero decir gracias al alcalde Adams por todo el apoyo, a la comisionadora de policías y al Deputy Mayor Daughtry por toda la ayuda que nos han dado en limpiar Roosevelt Avenue. Vemos los números que han reducido. El crimen ha reducido más del 28% por Roosevelt Avenue. Eso es un número muy importante porque sabemos que ahora nuestras calles, nuestro vecindario está más seguro que nunca por el apoyo que se ha dado aquí. Vamos a seguir adelante para restaurar todo Roosevelt Avenue, que sean las condiciones que merecemos tener un vecindario seguro y limpio. Y eso tengo que decir gracias a la policía y al alcalde por eso. Gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, brother. Answer a few questions on this before we go into other questions. What's going on, Kevin?
This question is actually for Deputy Mayor Daughtry, if it's okay. When you were walking, Deputy Mayor?
Oh, yes,
that's okay. When you were walking the other night with the councilman, I'm sorry.
Moya.
The other night when you saw things I've been being told by residents that the 18th Street gang is just kind of pushing all the activity further into Corona because they know that this stretch is being taken care of by the NYPD, so they're kind of just moving things down a little. Is that what you guys were noticing when you were taking the walk, that things are just moving down the lawn?
No. So when we walked from Junction Boulevard to it was like 89th or 88th Street, what we noticed was like the council member said, we didn't see any activity until we got to around 90th Street. But we have anticipated this. When I was in the police department as deputy commissioner for operations, residents told us, like, we had tips coming in, and the tips were, when you guys are focusing on Roosevelt Avenue, they're just going to go on the side blocks where the activity is going to get pushed to the side block. So in anticipation of that, we had residents contact us where they were telling us that there was illegal prostitution activity that was being done inside of abandoned vehicles that were parked on the side blocks. And Chief Glenn and Inspector Williams, they got that information and immediately acted on that and towed those vehicles. So the team was right on top of it. We anticipated that, and I just want to acknowledge what the commissioner was saying before. Thank you to the commissioner for keeping her foot in the gas when it comes to Roosevelt Avenue, because Roosevelt Avenue is passionate to me. I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew up in Left Rack City, Queens, where I remember walking riding my bicycle, my Huffy bicycle. It was a mountain bike, Huffy, and I parked. I left it in front of the store on Junction Boulevard, and I came back out to. I went to go buy a quart of water, those little drinks, and I came back out and it was stolen. So I didn't have a lock, so I didn't. But my mother told me I should have, brought it into the store. Maybe that's a whole other story. But the mere, it was just, this is my neighborhood here. And I can still sit at my neighborhood because this is where I was born and raised, in this neighborhood. And it's just a great feeling to come back and work with this extraordinary team here behind me, and the police commissioner. So this is my way of giving back to the neighborhood by trying to clean up some of the things that were still persisting when I was younger, 13, 14 years old. And just to hear from the comments that people say that it's never going to change. That's not true. It's changing. It's not changing as fast as we want to, but it is changing. And thank you to the team here. Thank you for the question.
Talk about the involvement of the community, because you couldn't do it alone. You needed those tips that came in order to really zero in. Any thoughts for the community?
Yes, to the community. When we were out, Councilman, remember and Mayor, you were there. We put those signs on the doors where we had those nuisance abatements from the court to be able to shut down some of these illegal brothels. And there was one place in particular, which is on the corner of 97th Street and Roosevelt Avenue, where it was a massage parlor that was supposed to be a restaurant. They made all these modifications to it, and that's why it's important that we had the other city agencies that help us, like Department of Buildings, Fire Department, DEP, sanitation, DSNY. But one of the things that really, really stuck into my mind was when the people in the barbershop, they came out and they were clapping when we went in there to take enforcement action and shut that down. Clapping, saying thank you, it's about time, and they were saying things in Spanish, which I'm not going to repeat, but I kind of picked up what they were saying. But they were happy that this was being done, and that maybe not saying, but maybe one of those were the tips that came in. Thank you to the community for pointing us in the right direction.
Do you have any figures on the padlock orders, and is the city going after the property owners who are renting out?
We can get it.
Right.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so the nuisance abatement process has been ongoing even prior to the initiative. There's been over 41 places that have been served with orders, and it's an ongoing process, and they've been closed as we move along.
And is property owners being, fines?
Property owners are being held accountable, absolutely.
Through fines, or?
Yes.
Do you know how much?
I don't. No, off the top of my head, no.
Let me just add one thing. Sure. And it's just not. This approach here is not just let's come out and summons the owners. The brothels, they get no breaks. But if there are business owners there that during the inspection just wasn't part of the illegal activity that are happening on Roosevelt Avenue, we're not looking to go in there and hurt the businesses in Roosevelt. We're looking to hold the bad people accountable for turning their places of establishments into illegal sex shops, and those are the ones that we are laser focused on, and those are the ones that we're going after.
Can I just add one thing to that? Is that I'm working also with the administration. I have a bill in that is now making sure that for massage parlors, you have to have a business license, just like you would at a nail salon, at a barber shop. which would then allow other agencies to go in there and to inspect whether or not they have a legitimate business going on there. And we're working through that in the council right now. We're working with the administration to get to a place where we feel that this would also be an added tool that just doesn't rely on the NYPD to do everything that they have to do to close a place down like that as well.
How big of a role did the feds play in going after this 18th Street gang that was kind of holding on to that stretch of Roosevelt Avenue?
That was a joint operation between the NYPD and the FBI through our Safe Streets task force. And so it was really a joint effort taking down that gang.
Okay, why don't we do some off topics? Thanks all. All right, good to see you, brother. Thank you, brother. Do.
Thank you, Josie.
I have a question.
I yield to Chris Sommerfeld my question.
Thank you.
Why would you call
Mr.
us
Mayor.
a credentialed member of the New York City Press Board?
Hold on. Listen, let's be clear on something. There is no rule or law that states who we have to call on. There is no rule or law that states that. If I'm in the streets, you guys stop me, you put a camera in my face. If I choose to answer, I answer. That's the beauty of this country. The beauty of this country, you have the right to ask a question. The beauty of this country is that I have the right to answer the question. That's what's great about America. And we are continuing to follow that. I decide with my team who we are going to call on. That is the beauty of America. I decide if I'm going to answer you, and I decide if I'm going to call on you. Other countries, you don't have that luxury. Other countries, you're dragged away if you do something wrong. And so we're deciding who we're going to call on in my off topics. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay. You look amazing in this hot weather.
It's hot outside, and let's stick with that. Good afternoon,
Yes.
Mayor Adams. Well, it's the first time in decades that we're experiencing this kind of heat in the multitude in New York City. We know that a lot of elderly people are living in homes that might not have air conditioners. Is anyone checking on them? And how would they get cooling centers? That's one. Secondly, jobs for youth or what would I say?
Some youth jobs, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And we have stated from the start when it was on our radar that this heat wave was coming. We had a number of briefings. OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, Zach Isco, the commissioner, they have put out communications. We have called on neighbors to check on neighbors because no one can do a better job than knowing who's in their community, their building, or who lives next door. So this is going to be a real community engagement. We're going to do our job to make sure that we get the information out, that we're going to respond to any calls of services if we're dealing with heat emergencies, because we've made it clear over and over again, our heat is the number one danger, and when you look at deaths and weather emergencies. So we're going to continue to push out our information, respond to the 911s, let people know where the cooling systems, centers are open, everything we can do. But we need everyday New Yorkers to also participate. Summer youth employment, 100,000. For years, we were only stuck at 75,000. We were able to get to 100,000. But not only that, we're doing Saturday Night Lights basketball. We're doing our Summer Rising initiative. We have our internship programs that's taking place. We have CRED, what is for justice involved young people, that we're looking into as well. So we have a whole host of events that we're doing during our We Outside summer. And you can see the success of that, almost going into the 6th straight month of record levels of decreasing crime.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
In regards regard to our exit poll data, I can't help but notice you have an I voted sticker on here. Who'd you vote for?
I voted for smart people that's not going to move the city in the right direction. Unfortunately, my favorite mayoral candidate was not on the ballot. He'll be on in November, and I'm looking forward to November to join the rest of you in voting for your favorite mayoral candidate.
Mr. Mayor, anything?
How are you doing? Nicole Johnson in the house.
Any thoughts for New Yorkers as the city always remains a possible target when we have conflict? We had a ceasefire, now there's not a ceasefire. We understand out of an abundance of caution, the NYPD has stepped up patrols in special areas. But what do you want to say to New Yorkers as we go about our business?
And you know, as a city, we are resilient. And the twin side of being the most diverse city on the globe is that whatever happens on an international level, it plays out in the city of New York. We saw that during the war between Russia and the Ukraine. We see it when there's conflict that is happening, protests in China. And that's the same thing here. We have one of the largest Persian populations in the country. My deputy mayor is of Persian descent. And we have one of the largest Jewish populations. And so we have to remain vigilant at all times while we keep our city safe. And that is what we are doing. Even with this conflict that's going on a national level, we are able to have mass protests, over 50,000 people on our street. We only have 14 arrests for people who acted in a nonviolent way. When you look at our ability to multitask, I think that's the signature of the city. And so we're going to go after those locations that are on our radar that we believe we should always be concerned about when we have particular conflicts. And at the same time, the message is clear to New Yorkers. See something, say something, do something. Don't try to figure it out. Communicate with us. Let us figure it out. But we need the eyes and ears of New Yorkers to assist us during this time. There are no credible threats right now on our city, but we're going to continue to monitor the situation.
Hey, Mayor.
What's going on?
You've got two very different candidates that are kind of seen as the front runners in the primary today.
Yes.
Have you kind of, in your mind, laid out what a blueprint might be for you, depending on who wins, or maybe one of them will decide to still run independently? Have you started, if you could share any details of any strategy you're thinking
That's a
about?
great question. That's a great question. All three of us, actually four, because Curtis is going to be on the ballot, all four of us should be defined by the word record. One person doesn't have a record. The other person is running from his record. And I have a record. Actually, two people don't have a record. Curtis does a good job with cats, but he doesn't do a good job in making sure our cities function. And so when you do analysis of everyone that's on the ballot, it should come down to record. What is your record? My record is clear. Decrease in crime, increase in jobs, navigating us out of COVID, navigating us out of 237,000 migrants and asylum seekers. So I have a record. And that's what it's going to come down to. And I'm looking forward to speaking about the one who doesn't have a record and speaking about the one who's running from his record. And that's the name of the game. That's what it's going to be about.
Since you want to take Chris's questions, I have two
Yes.
questions.
Okay.
First question is, you called on President Biden to give TPS and work permits to migrants.
Yes.
Do you call on President Trump to do that? And then the second question, you said that at Columbia protests, people said, quote, is your words, kill the Jews. Who said that specifically? You provide evidence for that claim.
First, yes, we fought for TPS. We were the leader in TPS. We were moving TPS when other people who are raising their voice now under this administration were silent under the previous administration. And every time I read these articles, I never see you guys point that out. They have a lot of energy under this. Notice how I didn't cut you off when you asked your two questions? Can you give me the same level?
But you're putting out misinformation about me.
Do we have to move on, or are you going to let him answer
Right.
I can get a follow-up.
Okay.
Last two questions, he's answering it.
Sure, fair
Let's try this one more time.
Fair enough.
Want to move on? Shante,
Answer my
go ahead.
question.
Shante, go ahead.
You could be off topic. This is called Off Topics.
This has to do with Kai Cenat and your meeting with him the other day. Just your thoughts on that meeting, and then also.
I'm sorry, which one?
About Kai
Oh,
Cenat.
okay.
Just your thoughts on how the meeting went, and then also with him coming back to give it. Your thoughts on him coming back to give it.
I think that that's hot. I think that he's an impressive young man, and I really enjoyed speaking with him. And he's from the Bronx, and our young people communicate on a level that's different from us, and we should respect that. And I could learn a lot from him, and I'm hoping he could learn a lot from me. And I don't think age should depend on your ability to be open to learning new things. I encourage him to come back, and if you saw the interview, during the interview I told him that you've reached a level where you should be collaborating with the city. We welcome him here, but he should sit down with the Department of Parks. He should sit down with our events coordinators. He should sit down with the police department. I would bring him in the room, bring our agencies in the room, and say this young man is attempted to put on an event, no matter what it is. Let's make sure he's successful. He's a Bronx born. He wants to give back to the community because he had good intentions. It was the lack of coordination. And so I encouraged him. He wants to do more events. He says, Mayor, I want to give back. And too many don't give back. We should not have him disencouraged to give back. And I was really impressed with his desire to give back as a young man from the Bronx. I told him, like we took down the gang yesterday. We announced the taking down of a gang yesterday. I told him his borough is having a real problem with gun violence and young people. Some of these crimes are participated by 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds. We had a 16-year-old that killed. We had a 14-year-old that killed a 16-year-old girl a few months ago. And so I want him to be engaged. He has millions of views. These young people are speaking to each other, and we need to be there to give them the message. So I was really impressed, and I was glad we had an opportunity to talk. And I would love for him to come back and do something in the city. What's happening?
Hi. Two questions. The first is just, can you talk a little bit about how you're going to run your race, given that you're going to be running in the general, it's likely going to be a 5-person race, how you're going to make your case to voters? And then the second question is on behalf of Chris from the Daily News. You were in favor of building housing in the Elizabeth Street Garden for years. You said it was a non-starter to development. How did the first deputy mayor, Randy Mastro, convince you to reverse your promise like that? What's your response to your former first deputy mayor, Maria Torres Springer, saying that housing delayed is housing denied, and criticizing your bill proposal?
Well, first, the message is clear. And I think all of us should be happy that the decision is made in November. That's democracy. The decision shouldn't be made during primaries. Primaries decide who's going to represent the particular candidate. And so the excitement that this race is going to go all the way into November, that's democracy. We had a flawed democracy when it doesn't go all the way to November. So I'm excited about the fact that it's going to go in November. And a lot of people don't realize something. You often say, well, you're two things about this race that's interesting. And I said over and over again, this is going to be the most interesting race probably in the history of our city. You remember me saying that, JR? I said it over and over again. So two things I want to point out. Number one, when I stated I was going to run on an independent because this judge's decision took a long time, and I said I'm running on independent, people said, well, you can never run on an independent. Then why is Andrew running on an independent? Why is Madani running on an independent? Something Eric Adams figured out that everyone else is now running on an independent. So I'm going to see them in November. And the second thing is that the reason independent candidates don't normally win is because they're unknowns. They're people who just decide, I want to throw my name up on a committee and run. But sitting mayors are known. And the two mayors that won on the independent, Bloomberg and Lindsay, they ran on independents. And so I know I'm very much in this race, and out of everyone that's running, there's only one thing that I have that no one else has. I won before for mayor. I know how to win a race for mayor. And so I'm looking forward to that. Now let's talk about Elizabeth Street Garden. I'm baffled that people are missing the mission. The mission is not to be symbolic. The mission is to build housing. And so whatever you can leverage to build housing is a win. And when the first deputy mayor sat down and said of a number of initiatives, when we sit down and say, because there's a number of initiatives that he and I talk about, he said, can we figure out how to get, 3 times more housing? And I said, yes, that's a real win. Then he came back and said, Eric, I figured out how we could get 5 times more housing. So we leveraged a piece of real estate to get 5 times more housing. 5 times more housing. Something is baffling here. Is it about being symbolic and say, oh, we shut down the site? Or is it about leveraging what the city's resources are? We get 5 times more housing in a time where there's a housing crisis. I'm so glad that Randy decided to join the team because, there are a number of initiatives that he doesn't take credit for, but he has brought to me, and we sat down and we talked about, and it's a huge W. So good job. He did a good job in giving us 5 times more housing. 5 or more families are going to be able to, 5 times more families are going to be able to get housing because of what the deputy mayor did.
You used to say you needed all those sites, all 5 of them.
Quick question. So in the midst of the heat wave, my favorite recurring question is the lifeguard shortage.
Yes.
How many lifeguards do we have? Are they going to open up all the ocean beaches? Will they have enough for youth swimming programs in the pools, which haven't happened in the last 3 years? And for my own interest, what about adult lap swim at the end of the day, which was also canceled for the last 3 years?
We're going to be announcing the number of lifeguards. I think we do it July 1st is when we announce it. We're going to be announcing, we have a real recruitment campaign in place. Our desire is to get as many as possible, but we'll be announcing the Commissioner of Parks is, just really doing a good job and getting as many people as possible involved in the recruitment effort.
Any chance of opening up the pools a little bit earlier? I think they're going to open up till...
Yes, I was asking that same question, but it's a whole process. It's a process. It's a process of staffing up. It's a process of making sure the pools are ready to operate. You can't just open them based on the weather condition. There's an entire process, and they follow the process to make sure it's done correctly, make sure we have the staffing, because you're talking about water, and we want to make sure people are safe. So there's a process. And when once that process is ready, they have a nice timing. Once it's ready, we're going to open up, and we're going to have people enjoy the summer. Okay?
What's your special announcement on Thursday? Hey, the election.